Panda, panda, panda. I got broads in Atlanta, she's at the lean, the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van. Legacies, family, wait and see, look like a panda. Going out like a Montana, honey killers on the helmets.
Hey guys, this is From Steph to You, bringing you my UFC 200 video. I know it's been quite a while since I've been on. I got a few months left of school, so I appreciate you guys kind of bearing with me here. But I could not miss this fight card. An exciting fight card for sure. You know, a lot of big names, probably the most stacked card we've ever seen. So anyway, now keep in mind, guys, just to remind everybody, I am also doing this geared towards fantasy. So some fighters I pick may not necessarily be fighters I think are going to win, but I'm also looking to find guys value for fantasy as also while doing my my fight picks. So kicking off at the prelim card, Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi. This looks to be a really good fight. You know, to kick off the card, I see this being. I think this will be a war, but I think that Jim Miller has the more ways to win. I think he can finish it on the ground. He can finish it standing. You know, it doesn't take anything away from Gomi at all, but I just see that this being a Jim Miller fight. Jim Miller is coming in at 10,800, so a little steep because he does have quite a few wins by decision, and he doesn't have a ton of output. He's averaging 55 fantasy points. For Gomi, again, you know, he's got coming off of losing 3 out of his last 4. He's been knocked out his last 2 fights by Lauzon and Jury. So I don't see him winning this fight. I think Jim Miller either finishes or wins a decision. Next up, we have Gerard Mousasi versus Thiago Santos. Now, Santos is taking this fight on short notice. He's replacing Derek Brunson. Mousasi, you know, again, he's coming at 10,300. I don't know. DraftKings has not quite updated the price for Thiago Santos, but I do know he's a very powerful, very strong striker. His issue is that he tends to gas. You know, he's not really good after probably first round or early second round. You know, he's won his last few fights. He beat Nate Marquardt, but I mean, everybody beats Nate Marquardt now. He beat Steve Bossy. That was a big fight. You know, 2 strikers going at it. So, you know, he definitely can win. And Mousasi, though, the thing that's scary about him is that you know, he's really, really good on the ground. You know, he's a bigger guy. He's, you know, a little bit. He's fought at light heavyweight for many years. He definitely can finish this fight on the ground. You know, he went with Talis Latis back in February. He was knocked out by Uriah Hall. So both of these guys have losses to Uriah Hall. But you know, he's actually even knocked out Dan Henderson, and he submitted Mark Munoz. So I actually think he'll win the fight. I would stay away from this for fantasy because this is going to be a stylistic matchup. If it goes to the ground, Mousasi will have the advantage. But you know, again, Santos can obviously end the fight, you know, fairly quickly as well. So depending on the price change, if there's any price change, I would probably say Mousasi, but I also wouldn't really take either fighter for fantasy. Moving on, we have Diego Sanchez versus Joe Lauzon. So this fight is as even as you can get. Both these guys are intense fighters. Both these guys are hard to finish. They're warriors. I think my personal opinion is that Diego Sanchez has the better. Well, he's got the better wrestling definitely, but Lauzon has the better jiu-jitsu. But I think the thing about Sanchez that can be said is that he can take a ton of punishment without being KO'd. It's very hard to KO him. Lauzon could take a ton of punishment. I've seen him. You know, I think Dana White even mailed him the canvas from the octagon because he's been in some wars. So I'm not saying by any means that he's easy to put away, but I just think that you know, I don't think that he's going to be able to finish. If he does, I think it'll be a submission. But you know, I think I'm going to call this as a decision win. Probably say Sanchez, but by no means am I 100% confident in that because both these guys are game. I think this could be a fight of the night. But I'm going to go ahead and take Sanchez in that fight. And then moving on, we have Enrique Marin versus Sage Northcutt. I've said many times before that Sage Northcutt is really being groomed, to be a star for the UFC. He just signed his Reebok deal. He kind of ran into an issue with Barberina, much like Paige Van Zant did in her fight. You kind of meet that one wily veteran, and they, kind of humbled the up and comer. But with that loss, I think he's grown a lot. He's got great striking. He's a epitome of what a mixed martial artist is. He's trained very well in all facets of mixed martial arts. And the guy he's fighting here, Enrique Marin, he's only got one fight in the UFC. It was a loss back in November. So Sage Northcutt's very expensive. I believe actually he's the most expensive fighter on the for DraftKings. But definitely, I think he'll get a finish. If you want to pay $11,300 for a finish, I would say no. But I think he'll definitely win. Moving on, we have TJ Dillashaw versus Rafael Sunsao. This is a rematch, and Sunsao did beat Dillashaw in their first matchup. But I think that we've seen that Dillashaw, grow as a fighter. I think we've seen that he can, he's went out with, did fairly well, I thought, for a few rounds with Dominic Cruz. He did well against Renan Barão, obviously. Sunsao, he's got a lot of decision wins. So I think if there's going to be a finish in this fight, I think it will be Dillashaw finishing. I'm going to pick Dillashaw, but I will say for an underdog pick, if you want to take Rafael Sunsao at 8,300, that's a really good pick because I don't think he'll get finished. I'm just saying if there was to be a finish, I think he would be the one to be finished. But I don't see that happening, and I think that Dillashaw ultimately will win a decision. But Sunsao does have a lot of output, and so you'll get points for significant strikes, etc. So yeah, you might want to take him for a fantasy flyer, on low end of your budget. Then moving on, we have in the welterweight division Kevin Gastelum versus Johnny Hendricks. I love this fight. Johnny Hendricks is one of my favorite fighters. Kevin Gastelum is someone I definitely like to watch as well. They have similar styles. I'd say that Hendricks is probably the better wrestler, but Gastelum would probably be the more dynamic striker. Gastelum, he's young. He's 24. Johnny Hendricks, a little bit older. I think he's 33 years old. They're pretty evenly matched. I will say though, I think Johnny Hendricks, had given he's a former champion. He's gone through, wars with Robbie Lawler. He's fought Carlos Condit. He's fought Tyron Woodley. He's fought all these guys. Whereas Kevin Gastelum, you look at his record. He just came off a loss to Neil Magny. He beat Marquardt, but he lost to Woodley. And then you look at Ellenberger. That's the only real name that he's beaten. And I'm not saying that he's 24. He's going to be, the world is his oyster. But I think Johnny Hendricks wins this fight. I think to get back into the title contention, maybe get another shot with Robbie Lawler or Stephen Thompson, guys like that. He needs this fight, and so I think Johnny Hendricks will rise to the occasion. I think if this gets into a wrestling match, I think he'll have a significant advantage. And his left hand is no joke. So I do think it's going to be a knockout victory for Johnny Hendricks. And then moving on, we have Kat Zingano versus Julianna Pena. This is an interesting fight. I'm actually going to take the underdog in this one. I think Julianna Pena, she had her injury. She was off for a while, but she's got a lot of output with her striking. Kat Zingano, we haven't seen her fight since her, 10-15 second submission loss to Ronda Rousey. She did finish Miesha Tate. She did finish Nunes. But the thing is, she's quite a bit older, and Pena is only 26, and she's coming up. I think she's going to be part of this new breed of fighter, kind of following in Ronda Rousey's footsteps. I think she can definitely put this fight away. I don't think it'll be necessarily a knockout, but I will say, again, one's 33, one's 26. Kat Zingano hasn't fought in a year. Her last fight was, a devastating loss in a title fight. Where will she be at mentally? I don't know. Whereas Pena, she's coming in. Last time she fought was Jessica I back in October. It wasn't the greatest fight, but I'm just saying I think that she'll win. So yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and take Pena in that fight. And then in the heavyweight division, Cain Velasquez versus Travis Browne. Now, see, this is where I really disagree. I know a lot of guys really like Cain Velasquez, you know, as a former champion and stuff. But I've never seen a fighter in the heavyweight division that does not really possess one-punch knockout power. I mean, even jiu-jitsu guys like Frank Mir and Nogueira can end your night with one shot. Frank Mir did it against Todd Duffy. You know, Nogueira's done it before. But Cain Velasquez, you know, he's a great wrestler, and he definitely can pack a punch. I'm not saying that he's got nothing, but he's not the kind of guy that you're worried about him hitting you one time and you going to sleep. And you know, Travis Browne is definitely one of those guys. He's got, you know, wins against Overeem. He's got wins against, you know, even hurt as bad as he was against Arlovsky. He's, you know, technically he never got knocked. I mean, he was out, but I'm saying he was still on his feet fighting, and he came back, and when he was after getting hit, he throws a haymaker, boom, drops Arlovsky. But the problem was he didn't have his you know, his vices about him. He wasn't able to finish. But you know, he knocked out Matt Mitrione back in January. He's definitely you know, like I said, he's knocked out Gonzaga, he's knocked out Barnett, he's knocked out Overeem. And Cain Velasquez hasn't really faced strikers like that. He's faced Junior Dos Santos, who is a great boxer, but he's not a kickboxer. You're not really worried about his leg kicks. You're not worried about the range. And also, Cain Velasquez is, I believe, 6'2", whereas Travis Browne is 6'7", and it's, you know, significant reach. And with his style, sitting real low, real wide like that, I think it'll be hard for Cain to shoot in on him because of that wide stance. Because of the, you know, he's going to have to really come far and close a lot of distance very quickly to try to get Travis down. And that's not to say that he can't, and that's not to say that he's going to just get knocked out in the first round. But I'm just saying, stylistically, I think this is a bad matchup for Cain. He's not going to knock Travis out, and he could try to out-grapple him, but I don't see Travis letting himself to be taken down over and over again. You know, Cain, again, also another issue is he hasn't fought in a long time. He's been a year since he fought Verdum, where he got knocked out. Before that, you know, I mean, he's only fought like a handful of times in the last 6 years, really, since he won the belt from Brock. So I think Travis Browne wins. I would say second round knockout. And then moving on, we have Frankie Edgar versus José Aldo. This is another tough fight. Both these guys, you know, are game. Aldo's only really lost one fight to McGregor once earlier in his career. He lost. You know, they went to a decision in their first fight. Frankie obviously needs to get this fight to the ground. I think he has a superior ground game, although not really known for his jiu-jitsu. And you know, Frankie can definitely a very good wrestler. The issue I see here is that if all those leg kicks, which have brutalized the likes of everybody he fought, you know, you saw what happened when he fought Urijah Faber. If he can chip away at Frankie's legs like that, I don't know how effective Frankie will be at shooting in. And Frankie needs to fight this in a boxing range, whereas Aldo can do this in like a kickboxing range. So it's a really tough fight. I don't know where this one will go. They're pretty evenly priced. I don't think it'll be a finish, to be honest. So if somebody wants to take a flyer on, Aldo's a little bit cheaper. He's $9,500, whereas Edgar's $9,900. But I'm going to lean towards Frankie Edgar, because I think if he can get some takedowns, he can grind out a decision. But I don't see anybody getting finished in that fight. Those guys are champions, and but I call it for Frankie Edgar. And then moving on, we have Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes. So Miesha Tate finally, you know, having her moment as champion. She's always been, you know, the number 2, but you know, I guess Ronda Rousey stylistically is just too much for her. But she did handle, you know, the girl that beat Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, fairly easily. Nunes coming in, you know, she's lost to Kat Zingano, as I said before. She's a young fighter. You know, she definitely, I think she also beat, she submitted McMahon. So she's a good fighter, young fighter. But I don't think she's gonna win. I think Miesha Tate, this is kind of her moment. I think Nunes is a little bit. She hasn't fought the type of competition that Miesha has over and over again. Miesha Tate has beat Jessica Eye, she's beat McMahon, she's beat Holly Holm, she's beat Liz Carmouche. So I just think that she's going to be, especially if they get to the championship rounds, I think that Miesha Tate will probably get a submission. I'd say a third or fourth round submission, but I'm going to call this one for Miesha Tate. And then next up in the heavyweight division, and this is my shot of the night between the Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt. Take Mark Hunt. He's priced very reasonable at $10,400, and he has everything in his favor right now. I mean, if I could say for sure thing on any fight, it would be the Mark Hunt fight. There's the one way that he can lose, and we all know what it is. If he lets Brock take him down and hold him down, Brock could finish him. But you look at all the things that are stacked against Brock Lesnar. He's never been, he didn't have that long of a fight career. I think what's his record here? His record is 5-3, so he's had 8 fights. He lost to Frank Mir. He beat Heath Herring. Then he beat Frank Mir when Frank Mir weighed 240 pounds. He was losing really badly to Shane Carwin, but then pulled off the submission after Carwin blew his wad. Then he lost to Cain Velasquez. And again, like I told you, Cain Velasquez is of all the heavyweights, I think he hits the least hard. Or his punches are not nearly as hard as anybody else in the division. And then he got retired by Overing. Now I understand that he did have health issues, but you consider he's had 5 years of ring rust. He doesn't like to get hit. Not that anybody likes to get hit, but when he got hit by Cain, he started spinning around, didn't know what he was doing, and with Overing, he got kicked in the side and just kind of fell over. Mark Hunt may be a lot of things. He's in his 40s, and he only has a 12-10 record, so he's not a world beater. But that man, when he hits you, you go to sleep. He's been knocked out. But he's fought tougher fighters. He knocked out Frank Mir. He knocked out Silva. When he's lost to the former champion and the current champion, Verdum and Miocic. Both knocked him out. But he's gone through wars with Silva. He's gone through wars with. He knocked out. I mean, I've seen Roy Nelson take punches from pretty much everybody, and Mark Hunt put him to sleep with one shot. So I'm just saying, stylistically, this is a great fight for Mark Hunt. He hits probably the hardest of anybody in the division, and Brock Lesnar doesn't like to get hit. First little jab, I think Brock's going to be in a world of hurt, and you add on the fact that he's 39 and hasn't fought in 5 years. I think that's just going to be too much. So take Mark Hunt in all your lineups. I'm guaranteeing that one. I'm 99% sure. It's a fight game, so anything can happen. But we all know that he has more ways to win than Brock does. And then finishing up in the light heavyweight division, we have Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones. Now let me say, Jon Jones, I do not like his style in his personal life. But, like the Floyd Mayweathers, like the Muhammad Alis, you have to give credit where it's due. And the only fighter I've ever really seen have Jon Jones in any sort of trouble was Alexander Gustafsson. He handled DC fairly well. It was pretty easy for him. I think he won that fight 4-1. DC's 100% takedown defense. He was the Olympic wrestler. Jon Jones wrestled in junior college, and he got taken down several times by Jon Jones. Also, he had to pretty much use every ounce of his available energy to take Jon Jones down the one time that he did. You consider also the age. Cormier is 37. Jon Jones, let's see here. I can't remember exactly how old he is. Jon Jones, 28. Okay, so he's significantly younger. You look at the height. Jon Jones is almost 6'5". And Cormier is about 5'10.5", 5'11". You look into the striking, the range that Jon Jones can stand at. Whereas Cormier, he has to leap into everything. He has to load up with things. Normally you're worried about when you fight Daniel Cormier, you're worried about him coming in and then throwing a few shots and taking you down. But with Jon, he's so high up that he can sprawl fairly wide, get himself a nice even base. And I just don't see Daniel winning this fight. Again, if there had been anything in the first fight that maybe showed flashes, but there wasn't. It was a very easy fight for him. He only won the title because of his Jon having to vacate the belt. I think this should be a fairly easy victory. I'm not going to say a knockout, But I'd say, if there's a knockout, I think it'll come, third or fourth round. Cormier is definitely no slouch. He's not easy to put away, and he's just not. He's not bad at all. He's very good, but he's just not good enough, I don't believe. And so I think Jon Jones should win this one pretty easy. And anyway, that's my picks, guys. And again, like I said, I apologize that I haven't been on as much. I will try to make more of an effort. Thank you for all the guys that keep writing and following me. I will try to get on here more often. But anyway, this has been From Step to You. You guys have a good one and take care.
Assassin.